Hello, everyone. I have no idea how good my sound is, so let me know in chat how we're doing. I had to reboot my computer to get the internet back, like, as I was supposed to be going live, so it's pretty much par for the course for these, I think. Glenn may not be here, but the problems persist. Hello, Mike. How is life in Niagara Falls? It is a little toasty here. I think it's about 25 degrees right now. Not terribly hot, but warm enough. Internet issues are a part of the deal. That is 100% the case. I'm trying to think. Was I supposed to stream last week or the week before? Anyways, I missed the last one. Sometimes, no matter what you do, real life gets in the way. But, slightly upgraded my streaming setup and the fact that I have a second monitor now, so I can be doing project work over here and monitoring chat over there. Maybe I'll call the second monitor Glenn, since he's gonna do Glenn's job. We'll see if anybody pops in. I forgot to schedule this until, like, I think 15 minutes before, so. But that is okay. People make it or they don't. Oh, I didn't even check to see. Okay, I thought I was maybe connected through Wi-Fi, but doesn't look like we are. That's good. Well, you wouldn't think it was that fancy if you realized it was an old ThinkVision 4x3 LCD. Got DisplayPort to DVI action happening. I think I'm even redder in real life than I am on camera right now. So yeah, I mean, I'll tell the story multiple times if needed, but also I couldn't get 1080p working on my Camlink, which is was it Elgato? Anyways, it's supposed to be able to do up to 4K. Couldn't get it to go above 720p in this configuration. Something to do with the computer, but I ordered two $5 USB HDMI capture devices from AliExpress, like, I don't know how long ago, and I connected them and they just work. So, like, yeah, I think it looks pretty good. It's got, you know, all the extra HDs over 720p right now, and I've actually got two of them hooked up because if we do any software setup stuff on the little device that I want to play with today and pull apart, I'll be able to just plug it right in and broadcast the capture. So that should be pretty cool. So I got like 10 of these guys. They're Thin Clients. They're basically like underpowered laptop hardware crammed into a little case. Cute little machines, but not really a lot of room to put anything in terms of an upgrade. You can upgrade storage, and you can upgrade memory. These guys will go up to, in the documentation it says 4 gigs, but I've read that most of them will do 8 gigs. So that's got that going on. But yeah, I want to first of all see what it's capable of doing. And I want to take, so the first step will be to take measurements of the board and make a recreation of it in Fusion 360. And then I figure I can design new cases around it that'll allow for additional hardware, because there's some interesting stuff on the inside of these. So maybe we'll just You can see, or I can see through here, this one actually still has its storage and memory in place. These are all supposed to be sold with the storage and memory removed, and I paid like $10 a piece for them. Now they're slow and old even by thin client standards. There's much better ones out there, but I got these back when Raspberry Pis were still pretty difficult to get, and I was looking for low-powered hardware, and $10 a pop, including shipping, seemed like a good idea. And then I didn't do anything with them. That's not true. If you saw me at 3D Printopia or Earth, rather, I had these guys running the voting terminals. So they were running Windows 7, and let's take a look at what we got for outputs. So we got DisplayPort, DVI, 2 USBs, Ethernet, which is gigabit. Then there's a 19-volt input. And then on the front we have a headphone jack and 2 more USBs. So 4 USBs altogether. Power button. That's pretty much it. But it's not meant to be a performant piece of hardware, so. Evening vents. We use them for training labs that all basically either Citrix or RDP. So no local processing really needed. Mounted in the back of the monitors, so that makes sense. I'm curious if these are mounting points or if that is holding the CPU down. Because holding the CPU down with externally accessible screws seems like... the cooler for the CPU. There may also be differences as I look at this one through the thing compared to the other ones. Because the one thing with these is that there's supposed to be a metal plate underneath the plastic plate, and that's what handles some of the cooling for either the memory of the VRM. Oh, no, there it is. It's just black. You can see there's a metal plate here. It's got a speaker right there. Do you guys want me to zoom in a little bit more? I guess we could do that pretty easy. Let's go ahead and bring it in. There, that's a little bit better, I think. How's Vince tonight? What's Vince up to? So cracking past this guy. I think the screws are different sizes, so I'm going to do the lazy thing and just keep them on opposite sides. But I decided to start with this one because it looks like it might be complete. Oh, there's an extra screw. It might be complete. So you guys can see what these look like in their glory days. I want to say that it's... Yeah, there we go. I've torn a couple of these apart before because I had to work around the storage situation. So there's the inside. And so we've got our CPU cooler here. You can see they've stuck thermal pads here, and then there's a corresponding one here that would attach to here, and that's just to pass. There's no fan, so it's just turning the external chassis into extra cooling on top of this. There's no heat pipes as far. Oh, yes, there are. There's flattened heat pipes here, so the heat pipes come out the side here and then go through this additional block here. But yeah, no airflow through there whatsoever. This looks like it could be a fan connector, but then there's a jumper on it, so I'm not entirely sure there. There's a daughter board here that is our extra USB and power in the front. And our RAM is here. This has got 4 gigs of DDR3 in it. And our storage here, the storage is a little interesting. So this is, I mean, it's technically an SSD. It's a 16 gig MLC SATA module. So it's basically a small SATA-based SSD, and the board has your SATA connection as well as your SATA power connection, sort of all in one. So if we unscrew this guy, we can then just remove that there, and that is your entire drive. So you got some some memory here. There's the two 8 gig chips, and the SATA controller is probably this guy right here. They're not going to be performant though. I mean, it's only 16 gigs. I don't think you can install Windows, like modern Windows, on 16 gigs. But here's where it gets interesting. So there's a couple interesting things. First of all, there's a second SATA port here. Right there, just a regular SATA there. There's no additional power though, so that makes things a little harder to work around, coupled with the fact that we can't even split the power off from here unless we have something else to connect to SATA, or connect to the SATA connector there. And take a look at like one of these guys, these splitters, and I think, yeah, we wouldn't even be able to put the splitter in there because it connects from both sides. So we'd have to shave off, I think, the entire side of the connector here, and then we'd be able to get that in there. What we can do though is use a SATA extension cable. Since here, SATA male there and female here, and we can slip that guy into there, and that allows us to take a additional, like a regular drive, a regular SATA drive, and connect it up for additional storage instead of having to use one of those modules. I haven't tried it with a spinning disk, because these things are slow enough as it is. I don't think we need to try and install anything on a physical disk to see how or spinning disk to see how it goes. But I've got this cheap AliExpress, literal AliExpress. I think it was $10 or less. Anyways, it's a little SATA 3 2.5 inch SSD, so we can actually just plug that guy into there, and then kind of just this is legitimately how I did it for the machines at Earth. I just wrapped around, folded it in there. It's all plastic, so it's not going to show anything out, and then stuck the cover back on top. The speaker connected. I mean, I'm not going to go through the full assembly, but you get the idea. You can kind of just cram it in there, get a little extra storage out of it. So, yeah, pretty simple. So, I think maybe I've got which instance of Linux did I get? Mint. That we can try installing it. Should I? What do you guys think? Should I go for the original storage to see how that is, or should I go for the 256 gig expansion? Well, I want to model a case that will allow me to mount the drive properly and also make use of the second SATA port. So if I can get the power split off from this so I can have two drives, I could then have like this here plus an extra storage thing, and it could be a basic NAS, for example. It's got a dual core 1.6 gigahertz AMD processor, but the model's kind of like not specific to this, but it's a low power one. It was a competitor for the Atom stuff, so not super fast or fancy, but and I do have two of them here. I pulled out two so that we could potentially be installing software on one while tearing down the other. So is the video fluid or does it look choppy? It looked choppy there for me for a second, but maybe it's just me. Well, right now it's mostly just to see what the performance is like. I have a couple of things that I'm going to try installing on it. So like, as I've got Linux Mint. I kind of wanted to see what the desktop experience is like with that. with the 4 gigs of RAM. It might be okay. I also have, I always forget the name of it, but it's a competitor for RetroPie. It's pretty fluid. Good. It's a competitor for RetroPie, so I thought we'd try that and see. Maybe this is a it does have 3D acceleration in the APU, so it might be a decent retro gaming machine that would be able to handle PC games and, you know, like not new PC games obviously, but so maybe we'll get this bad boy connected up and get an OS installing it, and then while that's going, we'll do the teardown of the second one. Let's slap this back together, and I'm going to go ahead and put the screws back in it because otherwise I will 100% lose them. And I don't have a lot of spare 2.5 millimeter, or 2.5, M2.5 rather, screws, so I'd rather not have to go digging. Yeah, I mean, I want to see what the browsing experience is like. It's obviously not going to run a bunch of additional software. It'd be funny if it did, but I don't think I'll be able to do any YouTube streaming or anything with it. But with the capture card set up the way I have it, you guys will get to share my pain. Whatever pain that is. Capture card might make it interesting to like get into the BIOS and stuff on it. Because I know that it has like a demo screen or something that it puts up in between when it doesn't have signal, so there's like a little bit of a delay when you're waiting for signal to come in, but we'll figure it out. Default storage I think was I think it came with 4, 8, or 16 gigs depending on your use case. They really obviously didn't need much more than their own kind of proprietary operating system for whatever you were gonna be using it for. And like Adam was saying, they're mostly remote desktop. So I've got my retro keyboard. This is a gift from my wife a couple years ago. It is quite heavy. It's made of actual wood, and it is absolutely lovely to type on. So I've got that guy, and then assuming I didn't lose the USB connector for it, I've got what is possibly the most James mouse that has ever existed. This here is the 8-bit do, or 8-bit do, depending on it, N30 mouse, which is modeled after the original NES, and it uses NES controller buttons for the clickers, and then instead of a scroll wheel, it's got a D-pad. Sucks for 3D modeling, I'll tell you that right now, because you can't zoom in and zoom out very easily with this. But you know, other than sucking at its one job of being a mouse, it's fantastic. Yeah, I love it. It's for basic mouse stuff. It's fantastic. It does a great job. Okay, we got that and we got that. Now I need the video capture device. I don't know if this machine will keep up if I try to run both capture devices at the same time. Pretty sure it won't, if we're being honest. Slide this other keyboard. Too many devices. Who would have thought? And we need some power. I thought the modeling of this case would be a fun kind of multi-week project, because the goal today will be to get the board pulled from here and then a model created, because then we can model any case we want around it. So let's go ahead and jam our bootable USB on here, and I'm going to bring up the other capture device, turn off this one, turn on this one. There's that test pattern I was talking about, and then we'll hit this, and I'll start hitting the buttons that may or may not lead us to the BIOS. Oh, it's delete. Did we get it? Aw, womp womp. Huh. The other one did not have a password. So that's a problem. Okay, well, let's see if I can just get it to boot off USB anyways, and we'll not worry about it for the moment. These things hardly feel worth putting a password on, to be honest. It does not see our USB stick. Disconnect the mouse for now, and we'll try the back USB ports. Although I have my doubts. Give it a good old Control Delete. Yeah, I think by default some of them probably do. Okay, we're going to try typing in Fireport for the password. But yeah, I do think a lot of these are designed to do network boot by default. Actually, now that you say that, Adam, I think this is going to work, because I think they did have passwords, but it's just, yeah, it's just the same password for all of them. Yeah, that's all good. It just doesn't see my USB stick. Huh. I'm going to try writing it again. I'm just using Rufus. Rufus is a utility for taking ISOs and writing them to USB sticks. It shows Linux Mint Cinnamon when I plug it in. Maybe because I don't, well, does it say, yeah, no, there's no UEFI on this guy. I did check to see, and it shows that USB and boot. Oh, thanks for keeping me honest. I gotta move this window. You guys can see the whole thing. I can't. There. Cool. All right. Let's try this again. This time I have a good feeling about it. Good call, Mike. And thanks for your help, Mike and Adam. Oh, that's different. Okay. Let's get minty. Minty fresh. Now, I believe this will be USB 2. It's definitely not 3, but I think it's newer than 1.1 even for compatibility mode. Some older devices are USB 2, but dropped down to 1.1 for like booting and installing stuff. I was dealing with a couple of first generation core boards, so like the first generation i7s, and two of the ones I had would automatically drop to USB 1.1 for booting off of USB. So I see the Linux Mint logo, and it is spinning. Okay, well, while that's going, I wonder if I can get will both of these work? Probably not, right? That's gonna be too much bandwidth. My CPU utilization's only sitting. Okay, so we're gonna do that. I'll stick me over here. We're gonna do this. Can't quite see the borders there. I don't have anything to put down in the bottom corner though. But I want to start tearing apart the other one while this one's doing its thing. Because I don't think anything that happens today with it's going to be fast. Or furious. Where did I where did I stick the other one now? Okay, so here's our second one. And with me set up like this, you guys can't see that. So, just let me see if I can pivot this way ever so slightly. Call it good there. That looks about right. This didn't turn off, did it? No. Because I see that the... Oh, no, there's a cursor there now. And I think I never plugged back in that USB dongle. So we'll go ahead and do that. Well, just in time for me to get set up to be able to film both of these. I think this is a little unfluided, but... okay, well, let's take a look. There is a bit of lag, but I think we can probably get through this. Wonder if we should take a look at the built-in drive and see if there's anything on it. Probably not a great idea, but also not terrible. I do have Ethernet on the standby, so we can actually get this thing online. Whether or not we want to is the other question, but let's see if I can do this without disconnecting the power. The power was rotated 90 degrees and blocking the Ethernet port, so okay. Oh, I don't know, maybe it's just my preview that's not fluid then. Well, I don't see the internal drive mounted, so I think we're just going to... I might have already done that because I see it spinning. While we're waiting for that, you guys get to watch me tear into this again. I should have probably just started with this one. That's okay. So the goal is to get to the juicy motherboard inside of this, and then we can start modeling. I don't think this one has any hardware left over. Like I said, when I bought them, it said all of the drives and memory were removed. So I'm expecting this to be a hollow shell. I do have RAM somewhere for it, and I've already shown you guys storage, but we don't need that right now anyways, because this is more of a destructive path right now. Looks like it's prompting us for stuff. You may wish to read the release notes. I don't, though. That's okay. English, that sounds good. Screw. So the one thing we will have to do, since it does rely on those pads for the extra cooling, we'll probably want to model in the ability to run a fan off of it. Oh, this one has RAM in it too. Look at that. Got an extra 4 gigabytes right there. I'll take free swag wherever it comes. Now the question is, why is there spiders living in here? No. I mean, that is one question, but as long as it's not cockroaches, I'm not going to be too worried about it. So I'm going to start off just by removing just every screw I can find. Looks like so it's interesting. There's 2 headers on the board. This one's marked protection and this one's marked developer. Yeah, I just thought there's interesting. There's a header marked developer. Should we install multimedia codecs? I do love to watch my DivX movies. I download them over dial-up. There's more screws here. I have not pulled one of these all the way apart, so we're gonna make it up as we go along. Wonder what this is. There's like a thick, probably ground plane solder pad right here. I'm gonna do the lazy zoom. There, you can see it right there. Interesting. I'm hoping the cooling solution is attached to the board itself and it'll all come out as one piece, but it might be screwed into a metal plane behind it. I think that should be that for expansion module. Might be able to remove the front plate. We're gonna erase disk and install. I mean, so the mounting points are here, 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 and here. I think the vase is quite a bit bigger. Still additional screws to be removed anyways, but it's also quite heavy. Yeah, I could keep the original case inside the 3D printed one, or a hybrid of the two. I could keep the back, and like if the back is required for mounting pressure, then I will definitely keep the back as part of it. There's a tab here. Maybe a tab here. Let's see. I'm just gonna let it do whatever it wants. What's the worst that could happen? Adam, you used Mint Linux before. What's the worst that could happen? Well, that exposes the metal part. peel off the daughter board. We can pull out the RAM. I thought you liked Mint Linux. Oh. Well, it is in fact loose. Oh, almost loose. I need some needle nose because I gotta pull off the mounting points for the DVI connector. I know what you're thinking. Why are you using those needle nose? It's because it's the first pair I found tonight. Are they the best? Absolutely not. They are from the dollar store. The plastic is literally melting into my hand, I'm sure. This is how we get the... this is actually beyond microplastics. This is how we get the macroplastics in this. But, yeah. Now the real question is, how do I get this out of here? Yeah. Carefully, maybe? If I take the cooler off, I think that'll give us a little more wiggle room. Plus, we can take a look at that sweet, sweet AMD processor for all our gaming needs on the inside. Where are we? Yeah, let's say Toronto. You guys are gonna have to shout out in chat if I'm missing dialogue. I'm not that multi-talented. What is your name? I'm just gonna put James. It's an honest answer. And yeah, let's log in automatically. And I have to put a password. Okay. Put that right there, and then we're just gonna do a did I take all of them off? No, I did not. They're close though, I think. Okay. Take off our hand cooling solution. Oh, look at that. That is, first of all, yeah, the thermal pad is, or the thermal compound is very dry. But that is significantly smaller than I was expecting. That's what she said. I know. There's no wiggle room front to back. That gives us wiggle room side to side, but that DVI port, like unless this just slides out with it, which it probably does. Yep. There we go. There is our fancy dancy motherboard. See that it's using the back for cooling as well. It did leave one pad behind right there, so we should probably figure out what that cools. That cools the capacitors and resistors on the underside of the CPU. So that is things to keep in mind, that there is active cooling front and back. I think John Mack might be right about keeping at least the back plate intact. Wonder what this is. Oh, and there's a BIOS reset button right there. So that's fun. Well, I think I'll still make a 3D model of the board because that's what we set out to do today, and dag nabbit, that's what I'm going to do. But while this is apart, let's see, where's my alcohol? Don't know where I put it because I want to replace the thermal compound while we're in here. It's possible that it got moved somewhere else though. Can't wait to turn to the camera and see that you guys have all seen it before I have. It is a very large bottle of alcohol that is starting to run a little low. Well, dag nabbit. Because I don't think I'll be able to... Well, it's coming off. The die on this is so tiny. This isn't even the small one yet. That did come clean though. Good enough. So let's see what we got for chips here. We've got... Oh, my eyes, man. Don't get old. I actually can't make that out, so what I'm going to do is take a picture of it and zoom in. See if we can get the specs off of that. So the larger one says AMD FCH 1635. The small one says GET 48E. So this guy is the processor. Well, embarrassed to say I don't know what the other one is. It's got lots of surface mount resistors right on the chip though. So that's a little interesting. Oh, or just give up like I did. The stuff isn't so completely dry that it doesn't come off. Yeah, it happens to us all, unfortunately. Okay, so this was on... Oh. And this stuff... this Noctua thermal paste was actually more expensive than the unit I'm putting it onto, but I guess I'll be able to do more than one with it, so... We'll dollop onto that one. Like, there's no way to not put too much on here with the size of the die. Smooth that out a little bit. Like, I don't think I have a modern CPU super handy at the moment, but Most of you have probably seen one at some point. And now, so the other thing is we're going directly to the die. There's no integrated heat spreader on these guys. But also, just give you an idea of the coolant levels. Look at how thin that is. That is a thin, barely there cooler. It has a single heat pipe, which is the curved part here. If you guys don't know how heat pipes work, they're a pretty cool technology. Basically, there's a liquid inside here and it's in a vacuum. So it takes very little to get that liquid to go to a gas to boil. So the liquid condenses and rolls back down onto the die, then boils and comes back up. So it very quickly is able to move heat from the main processor all the way up to here, where it cools rapidly, turns back down to a liquid, and then pumps back down, or runs back down to the chip to repeat the process. So it allows you to move heat away from a concentrated point to a less concentrated point very efficiently. We're going to go corner to corner. And I'm not going to go full tightness in one shot, because I don't want to push down onto those dies with unequal pressure. That one there, that one there, that one there, that one there. There we go. We're past halfway on the installation there, so that's exciting. I think I'll go ahead and place the daughter board back on here. What's interesting is the daughter board actually has, it might even be, so it's got a Realtek chip on it. I don't know if I'll be able to, if it'll focus in on there. Come on. I don't know if you guys can make out the little crab on the chip that's on the left-hand side, but the crab is the Realtek. I don't know if it's their logo. It might be their mascot. If anybody's got Google handy, check out the ALC269 and tell me if that's the network chipset. They might be using the USB bus to give network connectivity, but it's literally on the opposite side of the board. So it's also possible it's just a Realtek USB hub, and that these guys are connected via that. Could also be the audio? I don't know. I'm not positive. Drop that into place on there, and then we'll put some of the screws back into it. The pads on the back aren't too big of a deal. If we get air, like, the cooling is pretty minimal. These things, I don't think it's super hot. So I could even just put, it's the sound driver? Okay, that makes sense. The sound makes sense even, so the speaker connects here, and the headphone jack is here, so that makes sense. That would be the only thing that would be confined completely to the front. Okay, so that's remounted. Okay, let's get started on our model of our board. And all of the weight is in the actual case. I also just thought it'd be kind of neat to see one of these guys looking like a proper computer. Although they kind of already look like a little mini computer, to be honest. They look like what they are. Okay. Now I need to get Fusion going as well. Let's hope I got the computer I'm streaming off of right now on auction. for, I think, $40. So let's just hope it can keep up with me asking it to do a bunch of stuff. I mean, it's better than a $40 computer. I will say that. Like, price doesn't equate to what it is. I just happened to snag it at the right time. Just trying to get everything balanced here. That would be neat. That would be very neat. Kind of already looks like of that form factor. And if I put a fan in there, even like a 40mm fan to get some airflow, it'd be more than enough, I would think. Okay, let's get Fusion going. Hopefully, in all the hubbub, I didn't misplace my, where did I put them? My calipers. There we go. We're good. We're still good. Fusion is loaded. Start a new session, and then yeah, that would make sense. Yeah, put the IO towards the, because it would be what would be facing in. Well, the first project will be just getting a model done on the board. Then I can make many cases for it, and then be the only one that uses them, because I think I'm the only one with, certainly the only one trying to do anything useful with this particular model. Surprised we haven't had Bowser come in here. He gets all excited when I'm streaming. Okay, Fusion. That works. It's way oversized for the canvas. I'm gonna shrink these guys down a bit, I think, and give Fusion a little more space. I don't know about, so like the overall design. So if I do the back, like they do on a traditional case where it's like a replaceable IO shield, I think this would probably work for a lot of different versions. I think they still look very much the same even now, for being honest. I don't know if the screw holes are the same though, because if the screw holes aren't the same, then, well, then we're into designing the case and the IO shield, and then also designing a motherboard tray that slides in and out, which that could be fun too. Actually, the motherboard tray and the IO shield could be the same thing. Okay. Can you guys see my Fusion? Now, I've noticed, and this has happened before, where I'm moving the mouse is the browser. The browser doesn't show up for some reason. That's where it shows like the different objects and stuff that I've created. Not the models, but the list. So, I don't know what other controls don't show up. Go ahead and get rid of the text command so we have more screen to play with. And then, I want to start off by, as accurately as possible, measuring the squareness of the board. So I think, since my calipers probably aren't wide enough to do the whole thing, and oh, never mind. We are 150 millimeters wide, so that's fun. That's easy peasy. So we're gonna do 150 millimeters wide, and then I guarantee my calipers aren't wide enough to... This is where it gets catchy, sticky, because I need a third screen, basically. I'm going to try and do this up here. Then, you guys can't see what I'm doing, but I'm basically trying to divide my other screen into 2 segments so I can have chat and OBS showing, just so that I can keep an eye on what you guys are saying and seeing. That looks good. Okay. No, I didn't mean to do that. OBS, and then here we go. You guys can see the board. I don't think... No. Can't quite get enough out of it. But maybe I can get away with just the old measuring tape. We are 174 millimeters. That only works if I type into here. Okay. There's the basic outline of our board. My technique may not be the same as everybody else's, but we'll see how she goes. And it's a 1.5 millimeter thick board, so we'll make that 1.5. There we go. And then we're going to start by putting the notches in the end of the board. As you can see, there's a notch here and here. So this will be the top of the board, and we're just going to, let's see, I'm going to try and do this so everybody can see what I'm doing. It does mean that it's going to be a little more difficult. So, okay, we are 14.7 millimeters by 4.8. 14.7 by 4.8. And 14.7 by 4.8. Then we might as well get the other side while we're at it. So we are 11.6 by 11.9. I think it's probably about the same, to be honest. So let's do 6 by 11.9. I'll take those guys out. So then I'm going to start from this side of the board, and I'm just going to measure to the edge of each piece. So we're going to start with the power connector, for example, and I'm going to go from the edge to the inner edge of that, and it is 13.9. And then from there we'll measure the actual width, which is 10, and the depth, which is 14.1. So we'll do 10 and 14.1. Then finally we need the height of it. We're 7.3. Next we'll do, and I always start from the board here so that if I make a mistake somewhere along the lines, like if I could measure from the power now to the edge of the Ethernet and then from the Ethernet to the USB, but if I make a mistake on any one of these, then the rest of them are all wrong as well. So I don't want to do that. So to the edge of the Ethernet port is 34.9. that. And then we are 16.3. And we are 14.8. Our Ethernet is 11.8 tall. Next, we're going for our USBs. This is where it gets a little tricky. Not too bad though. We're 71.5. Now the USBs curve out at the end, so I'm using the biggest part. So we're looking at 14.5. And we're looking at 17.4. Then this gets a little repetitive. 15.4 tall. Come on. There we go. Then we're on to our DVI. Which is 114.1. Then we'll just take off the measurements on these guys, which is 38. And the depth. I'm not going to get the DVI connector extends out past the back, so I'm going to try and just take it from the front to there, and 12.3. Then we can just take the height of it, which is an even 10. And all we have left is the display port. So let's do off of here again. I always start by making a full model of the board so I can keep an eye on where cooling is going to go. Model out the back for the connectors. And I just like to make it detailed so that when I go to do the assembly, for example, if I just did the flat section with the screw holes, I could model it where the hard drive is going to go and then find out it's going to interfere with the cooler or with some of the hardware on top of there. So allows me to see sort of in real space time where things are going to be and how they're going to be set up. Display port is 135.8. That's interesting. I've made a mistake somewhere, clearly. 135.8. Okay, well this part here is supposed to be 140. So, where did I go wrong? $150.032. It's actually exactly 150. Interesting. The board must not be... The board's not See, I missed this. The board actually extends out past that. So I measured from here to here, which gave us our 150, but the board's actually bigger down here because it's cut out around the cooler. I don't know if you guys could see that, but yeah, it's wider here than it is here. Okay, that's okay. We can still fix that. So it's supposed to be no problem. Not a problem, because all of the connectors and everything I've modeled from that side are correct. So I just need to get a full measure on it on here, and it is 155 millimeters. So all I'm going to do, because I think I have this at 150 on the dot. Right, 150. Okay, so we're going to make this real simple. We're going to do a modify, and we're going to split the board, and we're going to select the side of this guy, and then we're just going to move this side of the board by 5 millimeters, and then we will press this guy out by 5 millimeters. And our board is now accurate again. Now I just have to take that measurement again for where the DVI port's supposed to be. Which is 135.7. That's better. And then we'll just take the measurements on it. We're going to call that 17.2 and 13 and that and 6.5 tall. So this is the process I go through. Now, stuff like the Raspberry Pi models already exist from it, so that's been relatively simple. I can just go download the model and then sort of model around it. But okay, so now we need to start putting some screw holes in this guy. So to a top-down view, and basically I kind of just want to, wherever possible, measure in from both sides of the board. So that's 18.4. I start off by putting items because this is assuming the board is square. So we'll do that, and then we're going to go in, it was 18.4. No, that can't be right. Oh, yes it is. 18.4 and then 4.1. And then we're going to put in, and I gotta check the size of the screw holes. They are 3.2 millimeters. So then we'll do a circle, and I think we can just do this and then this. And then diameter versus radius, I think. Yeah, so that gives us a 3.2 millimeter hole. First screw hole, first of many, many. We'll do the same thing again, off to this guy. We're at 45 for that one. 45, and then 5.4. 1.6. Goes our 3.2. We'll get the next one over here. Altogether, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's not too bad. We'll have to also model in the header and stuff on the back here. I don't think I'll bother to model it as like a separate board. I'll just expand it above. Shouldn't be too big of a deal. This will just be a block above, and then I'll put in the inputs and stuff. The power button, for example, is recessed into here. So we'll have to deal with that. If we put a power button in the front, it's got to be able to reach in. Just want to take a quick look and see what's going on with our install, configuring something. Well, I was expecting it to be slow, and I have not been disappointed. Jackson, if you're still watching, hey buddy. My brother messaged me to let me know my nephew is watching the stream. Appreciate you being here. Where were we? Oh yeah, more screw holes. I'm going to do the one on the other side now. So we'll just do the... Now this might be a little more difficult to do. I always like modeling from one side, but this one here we're going to have to probably make an exception. 4.1, 3.9. So basically 4 and 4. So it was 4.1 and 3.9. That. You guys actually have a better view of the stream and what the install is doing than I do, because my screen is a 4x3 screen that is, well, I guess it's 3x4 now. It's rotated, and then I've got OBS shrunk down into it, so it's probably using like 640 by 480 pixels for all of OBS, which is then cut down into the control center and all the other stuff. So. Okay, we've got 3 screw holes of 6 mounted. This middle one. This middle one needs to be done. So that's 66.8 from the inside. And 90 to the outer edge of the board. 66.8 by 90. 66.8 by 90. Hopefully remember that in 2 seconds. 90, 66.8. Well, that looks right. Do that like that, and then 1.6. And then this one is 5.1. I don't think... Okay, so we're going to have to hope that this is accurate, and we'll just shrink it down to there. And we're 147.8. 47.8. What did I say? 5.1? I'll double check just to make sure. .4. It might have moved though. Let's go ahead and even 5. I think I did say 5.1 before, but then we're gonna do one of you and one of you. 1.6. I'm actually curious if their placement is the same on the opposite sides. It's not. That's 4 millimeters. And 152. 152 by 4. And these ones have to be pretty accurate because we've only got 0.7 millimeters to play with in terms of the screw hole size versus the screw size. Okay, so there's our board. Kind of looks like an NES cartridge. There's our board with our screw holes and our I/O modeled into it. Pretty basic, but I do sometimes go back and add the details to make it look more official. I should also probably put the cutout for the ventilation into it now, because the board does go in and then cut back out, which is where that difference is. So what I'll do is, because I know that difference is 5 millimeters, because that's the 5 millimeters we added earlier, I'm going to measure the width of the part that juts out to hold the screw here if I can. Just like it's a little tricky to get to it because the heatsink is right against it. This would have been easier if I'd done it when the heatsink was detached. But let's call it it says 10, but I think I'm still getting 2 seconds, guys. Might have to do this a little off camera. .6. So we're going to go 9.6 back and 5 millimeters in. And then shave off that 5 millimeters. Must flare back out again? No, it doesn't. Oh, yeah, because I measured that hole from the other side. So this actually has to... Dang it, got me again. Okay, so this was 4 millimeters, right? How many is it to dead center? 5.6, and it needs to be 10.6. So what we're going to do is go out another 5, and we'll do a 3.2 here. And now if you watch this, you understand why it's a miracle if my stuff turns out properly. Okay, we were looking at 9.6 and 5 millimeters, and then we're going to go back that whole 5 millimeters from here. Is that right? So I take a look at that from the top and see if it seems accurate to me. Yeah, I guess so. Take a quick break to zoom this in and see if we have anything to do with nope, still doing stuff. So what I'll do, I think, is I'm gonna take a copy of the bottom of the screws for this. We'll just do a 0.6 new body off of that, and we're gonna move that down, because what I want to do is just print out a thin piece of this to make sure that the screw holes line up before we go any further with it. Because if the screw holes are good, we know we're in pretty good shape. It is true. It's the proverbial walking and chewing gum. You know, some people are better than others. Certainly better at it than me, but so there's our template, and I'm going to, because I don't want to take long to print or use a lot of plastic, I'm going to do bring this in, what, 20? Do an inline 20, that's probably more than we need. Let's do 10. 13. We'll do that, and then I'm going to do to there, so 137.2 and 8. We'll take this out, and then we'll minus 0.6. That theoretically should be enough of a template to prove that what we've done is accurate. So I'm gonna get a printer heating, because I don't think it'll take that long to print. We're gonna wrap up around 9, so I'm hoping that by the time 9 o'clock comes around, we'll have the thin client running Mint, and also have this template printed, but we will have to see how quickly we can spin it out. Firing up Bamboo Labs and get the printer heating. Thanks everybody that's hanging out with me tonight. The bed is heating, so now we just got to go save a copy. I don't think it's worth me adding Bamboo Studios. Well, I mean, eventually we'll need it, but for tonight I'm not going to bother with adding Bamboo Studios to the currently connected printer. Is it a 1 model? Oh. Not worth setting it up to stream it this time around. What do I have loaded for filament? I've got red, I've got blue, I've got pink. I guess we're going to print it in pink because the pink's what I've got the most of. Do a sync. And we'll set that to pink. And we'll do a slice. How long is it going to take to print? 22 minutes. Gosh darn if we aren't cutting it close. And I don't have any alcohol to wipe down the bed, so we're just going to have to send it. Okay, well that's printing. Because I can always remap the screw holes. We're going to go ahead and start modeling in the daughter board, or whatever we want to call that. Well, daughter board's probably the right term, so maybe we'll just stick with that. Now it does extend out over the thing, so that's something to keep in mind. It is makes the board physically longer. So let's go from the outer edge of the board to the outer edge of that, which is 105.6. 105.6. And then so I'm going to measure, we'll add the extension after the fact. We'll go from here to here, which is about the same size as the board. 21.8 is there. I wonder if I can get to, let's see. Call it 40, I think. 40. There's our starting point, and then we'll go off of here. We'll measure the total width of that daughter board, which is 93.2. And then the depth, oh yeah, the depth is to here. Then we will measure to the top of the board. From that, and we are 9.2 millimeters above the board on the top there. Perfect. Then let's get that extension part done. Which goes out .4, and it is 61. And that board's 1.5 millimeters thick, so we'll do that. That's the front of the board. We can then put in our headphone and USB jacks and all that jazz while we're waiting. So let's go here. We're at 18.3 from the outer edge here. And we are 12.3 deep. We're going to go, how wide are you total? 9.9. pretty square looking? That is pretty square looking, okay. And how tall is that guy? A little tricky because it's got pads on it, but I think I can clip the side there and do 4.7. Headphone jack. Then we'll do to the USB port. 37.3. .3, and we'll go in from here. We are actually, I'll make sure I got this right here because it gets wider at the end there. 37.6 is what it actually should be. There we go. Go here. Draw it out. We are 14.7. And then we are, the USB ports also extend off the front, so 13.5. Down to there, and 4.5 again. We're just about to start printing. It's going to be just in time if it finishes in time. We are 57.3, 57.4-ish. Install is done. Sweet. Okay, where's my other mouse? There we go. Do a restart now. Wouldn't shock me to find out that the USB storage is faster than the internal storage. I might end up regretting not connecting that newer SSD. Let's see if we boot off of the SATA now. Well, it looks like we are. Remove the installation media and then press enter. I can do that. I did do that. Now we just need to see if it actually finishes booting. Look at it go. I mean, you can't because the screen's blank, but rest assured it's doing something. Let's get that last USB port drawn in here while that's finishing up. .6. 13.5, 14.6. Sounds like it sounds like a skipping extruder, but it's probably because it's touching that can of compressed air. It is very possible that it is just hecka slow. I would agree with that. That's weird. I think YouTube Studio just closed. Welcome to Mint Linux. I just gotta get Studio open again because I don't have chat at the moment, which is interesting. We back? And we're back. Okay. Yeah, we're back up and running. We're just gonna max this guy out here. Let's go. Yeah, let's find out if there's any additional drivers. I mean, it seems okay. Definitely gotta check for drivers, you never know. Maybe it's a speed demon just waiting for the proper way to address its hardware. Yeah, so for the cooling on the back of these, I could, I've got somewhere little copper stick-on heat sinks. Oh, that's interesting. The thermal pads aren't doing anything. Like the ones on here, they're expanding there, but the ones in the back, no drivers needed. Just realized you guys don't have. Just give me 2 seconds. I want to show you this. I'm just gonna do this. Extend. And we'll move Fusion 360 down for now. Okay. So here's the board. Here's those two thermal pads. So I want to show you on this side here. One's under RAM. And the other one is maybe under if the chip's here, but I think the two chips are here. So I don't think there's anything necessarily there. I think they're both underneath the core section of here. And on this side there's no hardware underneath there. That's just traces. I think it's very likely they're just tossing stuff wherever and hoping it'll take some heat off the board, maybe. So that's interesting. So I don't think cooling there is actually going to be a problem. I assume there's going to be chips underneath there. But, okay, so let's do... Could be. It could be like, oh, well, we don't want to add additional... Well, they've got noise dampening, or like here, they've got the little foam pads. But they're non-conductive too, so... Oh, trying to click the X with the wrong mouse. Okay. There's some screen tearing that I think might be the fault of the streaming side. I can't confirm for sure, but let's turn off some of the additional broadcasting stuff and see if it improves a little. Okay, well, we're to there. Let's go ahead and see if Firefox will launch in anything resembling a reasonable amount of time. Or at all. There we go. Okay, let's, I don't know. Should we try YouTube? Let's try YouTube. See what happens. Because after reading, I think Adam will confirm this because he's suggested in the past, this does seem like it's the best potential operating system. Now, does Mint have something along the lines of like Task Manager for Windows where I can take a look at to see where the bottleneck is, whether it's storage or, you know, memory? Because I can upgrade RAM. I could put 8 gigs in this. It's like, I think, $14. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. We're on layer 2 on the print. That's where things speed up. I don't even know what to share. I won't demonetize myself. Although, I don't think I'm top of the print and play search anymore. Oh, look, I'm back. Oh, like from the terminal. It says I'm live. It is both very, very slow and potentially faster than I was expecting. I misspelled Dell, so that's fun. What's it putting us down to? I'm assuming it's 360p. And it is 360p. Okay, we need something faster paced than that. I don't know if we got suggestions on the main YouTube page when we clicked on it. This is what people say in a bog standard install of, well, any operating system when they hit YouTube for the first time. Very interesting. Any suggestions? I don't want to click on something that's going to be offensive. Just maybe a movie trailer? You know what? I'm going to do... I'm sure Marvel will leave me alone. And so, okay, let's do... okay, CPUs are... They're getting pretty hit. Memory is okay. Network is okay. Same pretty much bog in the middle. Network. just wanted to see if we had storage traffic or storage usage utilization. Yeah, I'm thinking not so much. Oh, it's trying to do 720p. Let's say I don't mind living back in the 90s. Let's drop down to 360p and see if we get... I mean, it's better than single digit. So if I wanted to hook this up to a CRT and live the glory days of watching TV in at like 480p, this would get me close. That would get me close. Cooking Haru. You're gonna be banned and cancelled, Adam. I can feel it. I don't even... Now, I suppose system monitor in and of itself is also... Okay, so the CPUs are pinned at 100%. Well, definitively, there's nothing we can do about the CPUs getting pinned. I don't imagine there's a way for me to overclock what we got. But let's is that 360p? No. Let's put it down to 144p. We're talking flip phone. Let's see what system monitor. Yeah, we're going all the way back to flip phone here. Hey, look, we got those CPUs down to not 100% pinned. So any choppiness here right now might very well be due to the way it's hooked up for the streaming. What's that do for our CPUs? Putting it up to 240. Now we're flirting with 100% utilization again. Well, where are we at with our print? Oh, she peeled up a little bit. Might be okay. Might be good enough. I think it's on the final layer. The one advantage of it being 0.6 millimeters thick is that there's not really much to curl on it. I'm actually going to start cooling the bed now so that I can get it off of it pretty quick. Oh, never mind. It was done already anyways. Yeah, it's not my cleanest print, but it'll do. It's Just gotta let it cool off a little bit. I'll have to find my alcohol to be able to clean this properly before we try to print anything for real. Well, let's see how accurately we got things. Okay, well, if I'd made this a little smaller, it would line up a little easier. It looks like things are good on the left side of the board. And the back corner and the middle look reasonably good. This one down here. Oh, you guys don't have any view on it. Hold on, sorry. Yeah, I mean, they might make decent servers for stuff. I also have a emulation operating system that's specifically targeted at older low hardware, and it'll run on stuff that's from like 20 years ago. So I'm hoping that might be okay. I'm going to go ahead and stop broadcasting this person's video, but it seemed to handle that okay-ish. Okay, now we want that one turned off, this one turned on. So yeah, I don't know if here, if we line up that, it looks like the ones on this side are pretty good. The middle one lines up, and kind of looks like the top one also lines up. So really it's just this one here is off, but it might be warped because it doesn't look like, if I get it just in on up against on that, that lines up, that lines up. It might be off a little bit on the width of the board. So I'll have to play with that a little bit next week and see where we're off. Might have to print it a little bit thicker because it's got a little too much flex. The good news is if I rejig the holes a little bit, the hardware fits almost all inside that, so it makes it a little bit easier. But it kind of does look like if I line up here and then I would just extend this side out maybe a little bit, it'll be bang on. So that's good. Maybe next week too I'll notch it so that we can make sure that these line up properly. Yeah, we could put screws through to test it out. See if we feed. This might fit through here. It's a little bit thicker than what was built into it, but it's closer to the standoff that we'd be using. Like that. And then I think the top also lines up. But it does put all the other ones off a little bit. So let's line up these three here. We'll do this guy through here. That's the one where it printed a little off. I also rushed taking off the bed, so it has a little bit of a warp to it, but it's so flexible that it probably doesn't matter all that much anyways. And that guy is good. And then try and smooth that out. Guy might need a little bit of an adjustment. And then see where we're at with the middle one. The middle one fits. Not too bad for a first try, and that's why we do the test print. Just in case anything's off. So then what I can do is, now that I know these ones are good, I can also measure from the outside of this one to the outside of this one and see how the distance should be. And then check it anyway. So like, well, here, I'll just do this one real quick. So if we go from here to here, shows it should be 115.7. And then if we go back to Fusion, on the wrong keyboard. Just disconnect that guy for now since we're coming to the end of the stream. If we get back into Fusion over here, I think I said 115.7. I think that was that this guy? No, I think it was this one. So then if we go that must not have been that one. Oh, it was probably off of this one. Sorry. Sorry guys. Sanity check from here to here. 114.351. So if this hole moves up by 1.2 millimeters or 1.4 millimeters, we're good to go. But we'll redo all the sanity checks there next week. I'm gonna go ahead and save this. So it's good to go for next week. I want to thank you all for hanging out with me, for the chats, and for the recommendations, and just for keeping your fingers crossed that everything would work out the way it did. And it did, so we're good. And I'll be back in 2 weeks. I'm going to try and do these every 2 weeks. In the meantime, I've got videos I'm working on, so keep an eye on the channel. Alrighty, I hope you guys all have a great night. Again, thanks for hanging out, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.